Well, folks, we have a Saturnian-Plutonian week ahead of us. This is honestly some pretty serious, somber astrology. So don't worry, I won't be as awkwardly cheerful, excited, and long-winded as I was last week. This week, it's time to face some tough, painful truths. It's time to summon the courage and self-discipline to do the hard thing. This is a week of growing pains, but along the way, we can connect to deeper meaning, to greater wholeness and healing, and hopefully build something that will last and serve us into the future. Let's start out by looking at today, Monday, March 23rd. Earlier this morning, the moon moved into the sign of Gemini, so the next few days are good for writing, for learning and curiosity, for communication, conversation, and platonic connections. Tomorrow, on the 24th, there's not too much to note, but we do have a few notable transits happening on Wednesday, March 25th. The moon will move into Cancer on this day, so we'll be feeling our feelings, nurturing ourselves and others, maybe being a bit more quiet and withdrawn. But we also have a couple important solar transits happening on Wednesday. In the wee hours, we'll experience a Sun conjunction to Saturn at 4 degrees of Aries. Now, the transiting sun is kind of like a spotlight, drawing our attention to other energies that it comes into contact with. And as it makes a conjunction to Saturn, we'll be asked to focus on setting boundaries, on facing consequences, on building structures and legacies. We'll be asked to consider the role of self-discipline and commitment in our lives, on what we're really contributing to our communities and to the collective. A transit like this can be a reality check, a rude awakening if you're still lost in the sauce of the dreamy, dissociative energies of Neptune and Pisces that we've been experiencing lately. Saturn is about confronting material realities and how things unfold over time, both on the grand scale and in our personal lives. This is the planet of aging, for example, but that also makes it the planet of maturity, integrity, and wisdom. When Saturn is conjunct the Sun, you might feel like your energy is dampened or your identity is restricted somehow, because Saturn requires us to make sacrifices and difficult choices. You'll be faced with how you actually embody your morals and ethics in your life. And with this conjunction happening in the sign of Aries, this will require some form of courage, making a stand and fighting for something. But later that day, the Sun will move to 5 degrees of Aries and form a sextile to Pluto at 5 degrees of Aquarius. And this is a stimulating, enlivening relationship. The air sign Aquarius is fanning the flames of the fire sign Aries, and dark Pluto is contacting the bright Sun to stimulate deep transformation and growth. The Sun conjunction to Saturn earlier can leave us feeling disheartened and despairing, but this stimulating sextile to Pluto is here to remind us of how empowered we are or can be. Aries and Aquarius are both signs that want freedom and liberation, genuine individuality and authenticity. They will fight, sacrifice, and set boundaries to make that happen and to get what they want. Pluto coming in might reveal some deeply hidden truth that will energize us and propel us into action. Its contact with the Sun might cause some kind of shift with authority figures and power structures, for example. It's springtime, the energies are moving very quickly now, and Pluto is hastening the death of the old and the rebirth of the new. So if I had to sum up Wednesday in one phrase, I would say this is a day for radical honesty with yourself, with others, and with the world. Next, let's take a look at Thursday, March 26th. Relational planet Venus will make a conjunction with Chiron, the wounded healer, on this day at 25 degrees of Aries. Chiron represents our core wounds, our old scars, our tender spots that really never fully healed, from which we can learn wisdom and compassion. And when Venus meets up with Chiron, we might be feeling really sensitive and insecure about connection, about our values, about our relationships, about our finances and resources. So Thursday is a day to be gentle with yourself and caring towards others, since we're all going through this transit together, of course. And the moon will still be in nurturing Cancer, which can help. So connection with others and creativity are really great ways to process whatever's coming up for you on Thursday. But again, with this conjunction happening in Aries, courage is required of us. There will be an opportunity to bravely face our fears, to engage with our wounds. You gotta feel it to heal it, as they say. The only way out is through, as they also say. A Venus conjunction to Chiron invites us to bring understanding empathy, and tenderness into our relationships with ourselves, with your inner child, with your wounded parts, and how they inform your behavior. So when you're confronted with your pain, will you use it as an excuse to stay passive or to lash out and harm others? Or will you use it as fuel to compassionately connect with yourself and others, to do what you can to help and heal, to embody and act on your values? This is a good opportunity for interpersonal relational healing in the context of community, to value caring for and helping each other in small everyday ways, to value learning from each other, teaching each other, mentoring and healing each other, to remember that we were never supposed to do this alone. And the idea that we are is propaganda to keep us divided and disempowered, right? Chiron was a Renaissance man, or Renaissance centaur, I guess. Not actually during the Renaissance, you know what I mean. He didn't just limit himself to one type of knowledge or one healing modality. So whether you're helping people with herbalism, astrology, organizing, activism, physically mobilizing, or whatever the fuck it might be, this is a reminder to value your efforts and your labor and your contributions. That brings us to Friday, March 27th, when the moon enters the sign of Leo. This underscores the opportunity to connect to your authentic self, to shine your genuine light into the world, to care for your inner child, to creatively express yourself, and to remember the spontaneous joy, play, pleasure, and fun that keeps us going through it all. Then we have probably the most interesting transit of the week happening on Saturday, March 28th, a sextile between Saturn and Pluto from 5 degrees of Aries to 5 degrees of Aquarius. This one is a big deal because Saturn and Pluto are slow-moving planets. So unlike, say, the sun that circles the zodiac once a year and makes all these different aspects to every planet, a Saturn-Pluto contact happens much less frequently. These are outer planets, transpersonal planets, generational planets that tend to have more of an impact on the collective as well as on us as individuals. And hopefully this sextile will bring us some good news about societal progress, about transformation thanks to Pluto, but probably of a slow and patient nature thanks to Saturn. This is a transit of taking shit seriously with a long-term perspective. Once again, we're talking about the radical honesty of consequential Saturn and shadowy Pluto. Pluto is about death and rebirth. It's the nuclear planet of blowing shit up. Pluto is good at destruction, whether it's the beneficial kind or the more harmful kind. And Saturn is good at rebuilding structures. Saturn, as we discussed earlier, is the lord of time, the planet of aging, and for the thousands of years that astrology existed before we discovered Pluto in 1930, Saturn was considered a planet of death as well. Now, we're already surrounded by pointless, needless, seemingly endless death happening on our planet. But this transit begs the question, what needs to die to be composted and regenerated in order for life to flourish and thrive? What ideas and beliefs inside us need to die? What structures of power and authority need to die? What is it that allows evil and greed to control the world, and how can we dispense with it? Under this transit, we can connect with our deep sense of grit and inner resources. We can harness the focus and self-discipline to reach down into our shadows that we don't want to look at and extract the energy that's imprisoned there. We can access great collective power for the sake of liberation. Then finally, on Sunday, March 29th, the moon will enter Virgo, which will be a good time for work and service, putting this stuff into action. For routines, physical health, personal growth, for critique, analysis, and detail work, and getting shit done. This has been Alice Pope with your weekly astrological weather report. Logan, back to you.